Hello, we are talking about the properties of logarithms, otherwise known as the logarithm laws, in this video. We've talked about three laws so far. Let's review them really quick. We've talked about log base A of A. As long as A and A are the same numbers, it is always equal to 1. Law number 2. As long as the two logarithms are the same base, if you're adding two logarithms together, you multiply the inputs, the part inside the parentheses, as you can see in this result here. And that works in both directions. I could go from this to these instead. And finally, we looked at law number 3. If you have this logarithms of the same base, and if you subtract them, you can divide. So our fourth and final law is going to look at a little bit more of this second law. So let's say in an example that we had log base A of P, so starting out the same, but then we added the exact same thing to it. Log base A of P. So using that law number 2, we would multiply the two inputs. Well, if you're multiplying the two inputs, P and P, by each other, by themselves, well, that just means it would be P squared. So now that would be equal to log base A of P squared. So we have a true equation right there. That's a true math sentence right in front of us. Let's see if we can simplify these sides a little bit more, though. If we look at the left side, we have the exact same thing written twice being added together. Well, that means we just have two of these log base A of P's. So I can write that side as 2 log base A of P equals the right side. The right side didn't change at all. So far, we have 2 log base A of P is equal to log base A of P squared. Now, you might be able to tell what the law is going to be, but let's see if we can extend this a little bit. So on the left and the right side, we're going to add the exact same thing. We're going to add log base A of P plus log base A of P. So we have two different examples, two things added to both sides. And so we still have an equation that's balanced based on what we know about how math works. So looking at the left side, well, now we have 1 log base A of P and then 2 more of them. Well, that just means that we have 3 of them total. 3 log base A of P. On the right side, well, we have 2 logarithms that are the same base, log base A, log base A. And so that means we're based on rule number 2, I can multiply these inputs. P squared times P is going to be equal to log base A of P to the third power. So once again, we can see that we have 3 times log base A of P is equal to log base A of P cubed. Based on this work, we can sort of generalize and create a new fourth law. We could say that any number multiplied by a logarithm with an input is going to be equal to a log of that same base, they're both A, where that n is now the exponent. And so we could even write that up here as law number 4. N times log base A of P is equal to log base A of P to the n. And sometimes, just to kind of keep you guys from getting confused later on, you might see this written as log base A of P to the n like that without the parentheses. it means the same thing, so try not to let that confuse you. Let's try an example here to end off this video. We are looking at log base 2 of 18 minus 2 times log base 2 of 3. So if we think about the law we just wrote down, number 4, well, if we have a coefficient in front like n multiplied by a logarithm, we can make an exponent instead. So that's what's happening here with the 2. So we can rewrite the second logarithm as log base 2 of 3 squared. And the first one did not change at all. It is still log base 2 of 18. And we're still subtracting these two logarithms. So now that we've done that, we can make the 3 squared into a 9, leaving the first one the same, like so. And from there, we have just subtracting two logarithms that are both a base 2. So now if we have an 18 and a 9 and we're subtracting, well, when you subtract logarithms of the same base, you divide the inputs, 18 divided by 9. So that means that we have log base 2 of 18 over 9. Well, 18 divided by 9 is equal to 2. And we now have log base 2 of 2. We now know is equal to 1. And that finishes off the main laws of logarithms. We have all 4 laws up at the top here. Law 1, 2, 3, and 4.